All right, welcome everybody to the Komiti Te Ara Waka Traffic Subcommittee meeting for Wednesday, the 24th of April, 2024. Before we start the live streaming, for any members who are joining us on Zoom, please keep your cameras on. And for any officers attending via Zoom, keep your cameras off unless you're speaking to an item. If we can start the live streaming now. And welcome to any members of the public watching the meeting on the Council's Facebook page. Just take a look at the emergency procedures just in front of you. Leave a couple of minutes for you to have a look. And we'll move forward to the opening karakia, timatanga. Feel free to join me. Here it goes. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kine ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E he aki ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, tihei, Māori ora. We have no apologies, and there is nobody in here for public comment. Does any member have a conflict of interest declaration relating to any item on the agenda? And moving on to item number 5, recommendations to Te Kauina Hira o Te Awa Kairangi, the Hutt City Council, 28th May 2024. Item A refers to 9299 Pomari Station bus stop relocation on page 5 of the agenda. I'd like to invite Evandro Shearer, the Transport Engineer Manager, to speak to the item. Also Aaron Joy, Roading Engineer, who's available to answer any questions. And I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Paul Hewitt, the new Head of Transport. Welcome, Paul. Do you have anything you'd like to add to the paper?
Kia ora. We have consulted with the public within 100 meters of the proposed location. As there are no properties in the vicinity, we did a letter drop to parked vehicles, and we have not got any opposition raised from the public. The main idea of the proposal is to change the bus stop location further north to enable a better visibility of pedestrians who cross at the refuge island. The intention of the proposal is to mitigate crash likelihood as a result of a crash that happened last year.
Does any member have a question of the officers? Councillor Parkin.
Kia ora. As part of this, thank you for the report. As part of the crash, we're obviously looking at putting a pedestrian crossing in there. How do you see this change working with the pedestrian crossing? And is it worth doing both things at the same time, given that we're doing a dig once policy for council? We haven't quite got a paint once policy, but it may be appropriate to take that approach.
Thanks for the question. What the intention of the proposal is to enable side visibility to pedestrians. We have added for the following financial year the crossing proposal, so we'll be considering for the financial year starting in July, the crossing installation.
Are there any other questions? Yeah, sure. John would like to add something.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Just around, so part of the crossing and where that awful incident occurred, that area we do need to do a speed review along there, but we're actually waiting for new direction from the government around speeds. And what the new process will be and what the restrictions will be around those, because that's 70 there, which is just not great. So at the same time as we get that when we get the clarification, we'll progress with that and the crossing at the same time. And the crossing could be either, I mean, you know, we need to do the design work first and go through some options. It could be lights, or it could be a raised pedestrian crossing. I mean, yeah, we'll work through that and come back with an update at the appropriate time.
Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. I think it's a really good and sensible idea to shift the crossing. I was just wondering though, over the past few years, we've done a lot of work around bus stops and entry and exit to bus stops to make sure that buses can easily get out of a lane of traffic and into the curb. And I just wonder, with an inset curb like this one, are we confident that buses will be able to get into that bus stop easily and out of the quite busy lane of traffic?
Thank you. We have verified that with Greater Wellington. They have not raised any opposition.
Are there any other questions? I did pop down yesterday to have a look at it, and I think it's a really sensible idea. I'm a little bit surprised it hasn't happened earlier, because it really does need to be moved north to provide some safety. And I certainly look forward to a pedestrian crossing going across there, linking the Pōmari Railway people with the car park opposite. Looking forward to that. So I'd like to move that the subcommittee recommends that council notes and receives the report and approves the proposed relocation of bus stop 9299 on Eastern Hutt Road outside the Pōmari train station, attached as Appendix 1 to the report. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Barrett. Is there anybody who wishes to speak for or against the motion? All those in favour say aye. I declare the motion carried. On to item B now, changes to parking time restrictions adjacent to 35 Boveri Street, Batoni, on page 11 of the agenda. Again, Evander, or I'd like to invite Rogan Maruganda, also available to answer questions. Would you like to speak to the paper?
Thank you. Our proposal is to enable parking turnover on Boveri Street. There's high parking demand in the area. That was a request from one of the local businesses who is supportive to the proposal. Additionally, we have also consulted with businesses of the area who also have not raised any opposition to the proposal.
Does anybody have a question of the officers? Councillor Dyer.
Kia ora, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question about the gap in between the two parking bays. I'm assuming it's for large trucks to be able to get into the pipe business. Obviously, this area has changed a bit with what the maps are and what the consents are, but this area now is just like a little pedestrian walkway through there now. So I don't know if it used to be a driveway, but yeah, keen to hear your thoughts.
Currently, the parking is for all type of road users, so trucks who also park in the area can utilize that parking facility.
We've got broken yellow lines at the moment between the two parking bays. I think it used to be a driveway into what used to be there, but now with the Imperial Park, it's just a pedestrian laneway through there. So there's sort of 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 spaces where cars could park in that gap between the two bays.
We would investigate that further. I believe that's for the turning movement onto the car parking space.
Are there any other questions? So I move that the subcommittee recommends that council receives and notes the information, approves the implementation of 11 times P120 time limited parking adjacent to 35 Boveri Street, Batoni, as attached as Appendix 1 to the report. It rescinds any previous resolutions pertaining to traffic controls made pursuant to any bylaw to the extent that they conflict with the traffic controls described in the report, and notes that these parking restrictions will take effect once the appropriate signage and or road markings have been installed. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Tupou. Is there any member who wishes to speak for or against? Oh, sorry, there's another one. Councillor Dyer.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I did actually have a second question, if you'll allow me. Obviously, the Petone Community Board, it says in the report, endorsed this at their meeting on the 15th of April. Do you know if there was any public submissions or feedback at that meeting?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So there was quite a discussion with board members at the meeting. So most of it was around worker parking and given that there's a lot of unrestricted parking in the area, and sort of 100 metres down the road there's heaps. So, and some of the bigger businesses have off-street parking as well for staff. So it was more around the ability for workers to find parking, but we're only talking sort of 11 parks here. So.
Thank you, John. Is there anybody who wishes to speak for or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. I declare the motion carried. Moving on to item number 6A, Maru Streets for People, page 17 of the agenda. And I'd like to invite Andrew Rowe, the project manager, to speak to the item. I believe Callum McKenzie, the senior advisor, is also available to answer questions. Would you like to speak to the paper?
Kia ora. So this is just a brief interim update after the majority of the bulk works are complete. Currently we've just gone out with some public surveys seeking feedback from the local community, and we're conducting traffic speed and volume surveys in the area as well as pedestrian counts. These surveys will help understand what adaptations are needed between now and the end of the financial year. Happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Tupou.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question about some time ago, I don't know what to call them. I can only describe them as a sort of curving traffic calming measure of those, what do you call them? The sort of meanders through the street. Shellacks, is it? Chicanes, sorry. Chicanes. Excuse me. There were some concerns from the community that, you know, it was all over social media at that time, and I think I remember a query went through, but just wondering whether you got any feedback on the effectiveness of that.
Thank you for the question. We have had some feedback on these. We are at the moment planning some mitigations to ease back some of the bollards, but we will be conducting speed surveys in the area to understand how effective they have been at slowing down the speed environment in the area, and whether or not, you know, what is the overall perception from the community, but we do plan on mitigating them a little bit, yes.
Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. I just had a couple of questions around the budget for this project. It's noted in the opening paragraph that it was funded 90% by Waka Kotahi, 10% by council, but what was the actual budget for the project?
1.1 million.
Thank you. And it's noted on the following page that this is a project of semi-permanent works. So after a period of time, I guess we'll evaluate it and either remove those semi-permanent works or make them permanent. So the budget for that, the cost of removal or making it permanent, is any of that budget from within the 1.1 million, or is this additional budget, and have both options or the most expensive option been budgeted for in our long-term plan?
Apologies, I can't comment on the long-term plan.
John Kingsley.
Thanks, through you, Madam Chair. So there is some funding there for taking these out if need be, but you know, we're looking at a medium-term solution to embed the changes and see the behaviour changes and see how it makes the environment safer. So we wouldn't be looking at making too many changes outside of some small tweaks based on public feedback and the data in the next 3 years, I think it is, before. So next time we come back for long-term plan, if there's the permanent option, would be through there. I think it's also, as I'm sure you probably assume, change in government. There is no permanent funding for these type of urban projects. under the current GPS. So it would be also at a time that coincide with government funding coming available again as well. But I mean, certainly 3 to 5 years is the window of time we'd be looking to keep these in there.
Yeah, so we're doing some evaluation now, and then is the plan to wait 3 years and reevaluate and decide whether to make it permanent?
Yes, but we'd also be making some, if there's anything, Andrew, step in here, but if you any tweaks that we need to, and then we just monitor and leave it and let it embed. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Just a bit of a statement from me. I popped over to St Claudette School when we had the opening day, and I can see the importance of this particular project, especially with the number of schools surrounding the area, and drove through those streets where traffic calming measures were in place. And just from my own personal observations, I thought that they would make quite a difference. And I'm quite interested. They've been in for quite a while now. Have you had any sort of verbal sort of updates on what people are thinking of the whole thing?
So the work's finished at the end of January, I believe, just in time for the start of the school term. We've had some, as well as the online feedback, as well as Facebook, but really from door knocking has been very positive, and progressively over the course of the project, which started over a year ago, each time that we go out and talk to the community, it's been more and more positive feedback. They've commented about how it's easy to reverse out of their driveway now. They've said how it's just quieter and they feel safer in the environment. Speaking with the locals that live in the area has been incredibly positive.
That's really good to hear. Anybody else got a question? Okay, I would like to move that the report be received and noted. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Mitchell. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favour of the motion? I declare, I have a seconder, a mover and a seconder. I put the motion. I declare the motion carried. Aye. All those in favour say aye. Thank you. Moving on to item B, the Traffic Subcommittee Forward Program on page 23 here. I wonder if anybody's speaking to this item, Paul? Okay, thank you, John. I just looked up and everything just me. Thank you, John.
Through you, Madam Chair. So this is the number of the items on the forward program are kind of placeholders and things like, you know, broken yellow lines and those traffic calming items that we normally get. There's also just a couple other things in here. One of the papers that will come forward is around the delegation for officers. So we'll share that with you next time and get your views on the sort, whether you want to see everything, every broken yellow line, or if there's broken yellow lines and there's a gap between them of 2 or 3 metres. Do you actually really want to see a paper and make that call, or do we just want us to go ahead or on corners? Those kind of things. We just want to have that conversation and see and get your view on that next time. There's a few in here that are very much dependent on central government funding, speaking particularly around the streetlight LED upgrade and the micro-mobility projects. So whether you want to keep them as pending until we get a firm decision from, we kind of know what the decision is going to be, but whether you want to keep them until September, October, when we'll get that final decision on there is pending. And then the only other one was the beltways. So we are doing that audit around what was expected in terms of broken yellow lines, signage, those sorts of things when the beltway was designed. And we'll bring that back next time around, you know, what's, if everything's been done, and if not, what the plan is to implement all of those.
Thanks, John. I'd also be very keen to see the progress made with the curb indentations for Biddle and Milne Crescents in Johnson Grove.
Through you, Madam Chair. So, and just on those, there will be an elected members coming out either late this week or early next week on those 3 streets, just to update you on the timing, but we are going to start those works I think it's within the next fortnight. So,
are there any other questions? So I'd like to move that subcommittee receives the notes of forward program for 2024 attached as Appendix 1 to the memorandum. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Barrett. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. I declare the motion carried. I have received no questions. Would you like to join me with the closing karakia? Unihia, unihia. Unihia I turu tapanui. Kia wātia, kia mama, te nāko, te tinana, te wairua I te ara takatū, koe rā e rongo whakarehia a ke kiuranga, kia wātia, ai rā, kua wātia, hau pai marere. Thank you very much. I declare the meeting closed at, here we go, 2:21 p.m. Thank you very much.